let's move on, because that's domestic, right? Civil rights, law enforcement, energy. Those will be three main themes in the new incoming Trump administration.
I like it.
But also in 2024, we had Israel Appreciation Day. Israel has now taken out Hamas, functionally defeated Hamas and Hezbollah. The fall of the House of Assad in Syria opens up possibilities and also exposes Iran to being vulnerable to Israel's counteroffensive, because now Israel can fly over Syrian airspace because they've neutralized any threats to Israeli planes. But what it doesn't do is no one celebrates Israel for all the things that make Israel special. And that's what we tried to do with Israel Appreciation Day. And we had so many good guests. First, let's roll the clip of the highlight reel in case you missed Israel Appreciation Day. Here's the highlight reel.
Thank you for being here. This is the first ever Israel Appreciation Day.
I believe in the words of Israel's first leader, David Ben-Gurion, who said, "One does not write history, one makes history."
The history of the Jewish people is one of rising and flourishing, despite thousands of years of being attacked, exiled, and scapegoated.
And I'm honored to join all of you in celebrating the first annual Israel Appreciation Day. And there are many reasons to appreciate Israel. It's one of America's closest allies in the world. It's a safe haven for persecuted people, and it's a wellspring of innovation.
That the land of Israel was given to the Jewish people, not by the United Nations, but by God himself.
Well, no one wants to fight. I'd love not to have this weapon, to be in a bulletproof vest, to serve in the IDF.
We cannot allow the worst instincts in our society to win. We must stand proud, and we must stand tall.
This is the Jewish moment, when the Jewish people stands for life over death and shows the lost and confused West how to survive.
From the Chalutzim, the pioneers, the original and early inhabitants of the land, even before the official creation of the State of Israel in 1948.
In my mind, one does not have to be Jewish to support Israel in their battle against the evil that is Hamas. One only has to be human.
Our Jewish community is stronger than ever.
And Israel's two things. It's not just a place, it's also a people.
We're only a generation away from the Holocaust. And understanding, yes, it could happen again. My daughter came home and said, is there going to be another Holocaust?
I couldn't live with myself if I didn't stand with Israel and the Jewish people at this moment in time when they most need us.
A free press during the Israel-Hamas conflict has provided real-time updates on terror attacks. And if we don't learn from those conflicts and wars, we're doomed to repeat the same mistake.
And it takes a lot of courage and a lot of strength to come out and be a voice of one sometimes. What did you do professionally prior to October 7th?
It is your duty as a Jew to shine the light. Go on to social media.
Why would you flourish under persecution? And the answer is that's our nature. That's always been our nature. When our enemies terrorize us and they come after us, what you see is a direct correlation to innovation.
The nation of Israel lives. You know, it still gives me goosebumps to look at that. But I want to go to, there were so many people who participated, and all of them were just incredibly powerful. But Hille Fuld, who is one of the, Israeli, lives in Israel, one of the top 10 technology influencers in the world, was one of our speakers, also a guest on Of the People, was really just was one of the most powerful speakers we had, and really cut to the core of the things that make Israel strong and so special. Let's play that clip from Hille Fuld.
It's a strong focus on family values and on education. You see the results, and you see that, a completely disproportionate number of Nobel Prizes were granted to Jews. It makes no sense. Again, we're 0.25% of the population. So, and by the way, if you look at the media and you don't know that number, that we're 0.25%, but you think we're like 70% of the population because we dominate the news cycle, which is in and of itself a whole discussion. But as far as making the world a better place, I mean, you look at things like cancer research, right? I mean, I had the opportunity many years ago to interview a man named Dr. Rick Klausner, who is the director of the National Cancer Institute, and the man that every U.S. president came to with a blank check and said, here, cure cancer. He managed more cancer research money than anyone in the world. And I had the chance to interview him, and I asked him about, why is it that we have AI and, self-driving cars and drones and all this stuff, but we can't crack cancer? And he said, we have cracked cancer. He said, we've learned how to take a person's immune system and attack the cancer. And that blew my mind. He said, many of these cures are still in the labs, they're not FDA approved. But then he continued and he told me that all of these leading cures and treatments are all developed in Israel. All of them. It's wild. We're unified. That is our strength, and vice versa. When we are not unified, our enemies smell our weakness. And we have documents retrieved from Gaza that Hamas blatantly states that the division in Israel is what caused them to do October 7th on October 7th. They were planning this.
Wow.
You know what? They were going to do it. But it happened on October 7th because of the division in Israel. And I want to say something. A lot of my friends, hundreds of my friends and colleagues are out there on Kaplan Street, protesting against Bibi. And I love and I respect a lot of these people. I do. And I think many of them have good intentions. I really do believe that. But I'm telling you that there is a real sickness that we know of, Trump derangement syndrome. We call it Bibi derangement syndrome. It is an obsession. Nothing he can do, nothing will he get right. And I'll just give you one example, because it's so blatant. He just fired the defense minister. Why did he fire the defense minister? Right. Because he wasn't loyal to the government. These people went to the streets burning Tel Aviv. How could he fire the defense minister in the middle of a war? The same people a day before were standing there yelling that we need to fire Netanyahu. Wait a second.
Wow.
Incredibly powerful and spot on, right? Touches on two things. And that, by the way, that was of the people interviewed, not even as part from Israel Appreciation Day. But having said that, the fact that they've cracked cancer research, right? These are all the things that people don't know about Israel. So it's not just about the war. It's not just about Israel's survival. As Hille Fuld rightfully points out, there is just an incredible wealth of discovery and technology and things that benefit mankind and benefit the planet that no one knows about. So what we need to focus on are all those things that celebrate Israel and all the good things, not a puff piece, not something that's, that you're writing sort of an ad campaign, but the honest truth and the facts that people don't know. We need to elevate Israel and elevate people's understanding, certainly in this country. I mean, you go to those college campuses where the protests are, where they're, talking about, free Palestine from the river to the sea, even though most of those knuckleheads don't know what they're talking about.
They don't know what river or what sea.
They don't know what river or what sea, right? But we need to do a better job educating them, not only in reading, writing, and arithmetic, which clearly they don't know really well either. By the way, I just saw something as a total segue or sidebar. Only 36% of American citizens could pass the American citizen test given to new citizens.
I'm actually surprised it's that high, Robert.
And I will tell you, I saw it online. I took the American citizen test.
You did?
I did.
Okay. And did you pass?
I got 100.
No, you didn't.
The Lord is my witness.
Is it the real citizenship test?
Yeah. It's got all sorts of different questions from a historical perspective and how the government works. I mean, it's not really that hard if you are engaged in life and in America and in politics.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to the whole Israel thing. But the second thing that...
Wait, you got to send me a link to that. We got to share a link for everybody to take
just look it up online. You'll see it. Actually, I took it on PragerU, which is where... So PragerU has the American citizen test posted because they're trying to see how many people can pass. So you can go look at that.
I'm looking it up right now. Okay, now you can segue. Okay. You now have my permission to segue.
I am glad I have your permission. So the other thing that Hille touched on was that when you divide a country, you can conquer, or you can try to conquer, right? Here, they were trying to divide America through mass illegal immigration and open borders. There, I would tell you that there were people trying to divide Israel to distract them from security and the borders, and that's when they attacked, right? So I mean, just incredible. And there's so many people. Go to IsraelAppreciationDay.com. You can see the trailer. There's so many. We're so thankful for everyone who contributed to that. And I will tell you, look for Israel Appreciation Day 2025, which will be even bigger, even better. And we're putting together a documentary about elevating all things that Israel does in the world. Yeah. How do you like them apples?
I like it. I'm into it. All right. So are we going to hear from Morgan next, or are we going to take another break?
Well, you tell me. How we doing on a time check?
I think we're good. I think we'll be good. You want to hear from Morgan?
So Morgan Ortagus is someone else we interviewed. It was at First in the Nation. She's the former spokesperson for Secretary Mike Pompeo. We talked to her at the not maybe the apex of the war, but it was certainly the apex of the war against Hamas. And she rightfully points out, she runs, I think it's the Polaris Institute now, but she rightfully points out that the real issue that Israel was going to have to contend with, so her prediction was 100% correct, was the multi-front wall. Let's roll that tape too.
Israel's going to be able to take care of Hamas in Gaza. I'm not as worried about that as I am about what happens with Hezbollah in the north, what happens from Syria. There was reportedly some rockets that came from Syria into the Golan Heights. Right. And does this end up turning into a multi-front war for Israel? You know, they're surrounded by their enemies. We saw, sadly, 50 years ago in the Yom Kippur War, what can happen to the state of Israel.
The EU has already put out requests for a proportionate response. Israel's not known for raping women or beheading babies, so I'm not sure what.
How do you proportionally respond to rapes and beheadings? Yeah. You know, they thought they had this fantasy, total fantasy, that they could take a theocratic, revolutionary regime and turn it into a moderating force in the Middle East. That obviously did not work. They got billions of dollars in sanctions relief, which they used to fund terrorism. As I just said in my speech and my remarks earlier, in the Biden administration, they've gone back to that capitulation, back to that appeasement policy. Hamas was receiving about $100 million a year from Iran. It's been $350 million. $350 million this year. Why? Because the Biden administration refuses to enforce the sanctions that are on the book. They just gave them $6 billion.
And that was last year, as I recall. So,
and Morgan Ortagus was spot on.
Yep.
And also calling out the Biden administration, much like the monologue, if you could hear my microphone, much like the monologue today, which is that it was let's call it what it is, the Obama, Biden, Harris, Pelosi foreign policy, that America is a bad place, that American exceptional, that America is, is founded on the original sin of slavery, that it's about dividing people by race and identity, right?
Yeah.
And therefore, and withdrawing from international affairs to the point where there was an ascendancy of Iran and China and Russia, including shipping pallets of money to Iran in the middle of the night, right? Billions and billions of dollars. So again, great interview with Morgan Ortagus, but I know we got a lot to cover. And that's just some of the guests in the last 12 months.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to take another very quick break. And when we come back, we're going to have Robert Was Right. We're going to have a segment about, yes, Robert's predictions that came true, ladies and gentlemen.